Greetings. This is Onris, and it's an honor to be counseling with you or interacting with your kind again. I feel a good deal of kindred connection to many of you who feel a connection to this particular vessel, who is a different incarnation of myself, if that makes that easier to understand. So if energetically you found a connection to this vessel, of course you've also energetically found a connection to me. For what that's worth. As I've stated before, I'm somewhat of a shaman to my people as well as to others that we interact with. So, not all from the same planet or the same world, of course. I'm coming at you from the dog star now, but I've been many places and many others have been to my world and currently inhabit it. It's not just my people or my kind, although generally we're all getting along quite well on this planet in my current point in what you would call time of where you're accessing me from or I'm accessing you from now. In those duties or practices or what is just part of my nature, I also enjoy and find a mutual benefit, a benefit to myself in interacting with your kind, as yours are perhaps the most energetically, emotionally fluctuating within a group that I've personally interacted with. So this is an interesting practice for me. You have to understand that in my world, in my life, I interact with a great deal of different types of entities, looking for the mutual harmony of benefit among all groups whenever I can, as much as reasonably possible. And in interacting with your humankind, I find that these emotional fluctuations from one individual to the next, as well as from one individual's moment to the next moment, in many cases, is quite revealing, and it allows me to practice my ability to be flexible, my ability to be adaptable to different energies. When I'm interacting with other races, not humans, for the most part, they come in a certain spectrum that they're very distinct with, and I know who I'm interacting with. And I've developed certain practices, of course, and certain patterns in interacting with each group. But as I was pointing out with your kind, with humans, there's really no exact frequency for interacting with your kind, because you all vary individually, again, moment to moment, as well as one individual to another. Your energies are all very different. Reading your auras, you're every color of your rainbow and other colors that you don't pick up above and below in frequency from what you call your rainbow, and you're fluctuating in all these colors, if that's one way to help you visualize what I'm referring to here. So there's a richness for me in interacting with your kind in any way. It's a good practice. It sharpens my skills. It expands upon them, you could say, in dealing with all these emotions that are changing as I'm reading from your group, even speaking to you now. I'd like to address the topic of belief systems, as is common. More information is coming into your world now through what you might call light workers. This one and many others, and some of you as well, and more of you in what you call your future. As if you're connecting with this kind of thing, you can rest assured you're some sort of a light worker yourself, and you're intending to wake yourself up to this reality. Something I've noticed is those of you who are light workers who don't know it in your world, you are finding questions coming up, and the way you're wording it to this vessel, as I've seen through his eyes, and I've read this energy or this question or this theme in your kind in a variety of other places and ways on your planet, what you'd call currently, where I'm accessing or reaching to you now in your timeline, what you're calling now. And understand wherever this message gets you, then that's your now. What I'm reading is that many of you who haven't accessed your inner light, if you would like to word it that way, are feeling very empty, that there's no fulfillment in any of the things you do. So you may try doing this for a while, or you may try doing that for a while. Things that you believe are maybe spiritual or good things, or things that are supposed to improve your sense of well-being or awakeness or enlightenment and so forth. But remember, If you're accessing these ideas from outside of yourself, that's why they feel empty. They're empty practices. They're just rituals. They're just dogmatic practices. The only real reason to do something should be coming from your heart center. This is where you find who you are, what your purpose is, and where you'll find what you might have lost in childhood that many of you refer to as your inner child, which keeps you youthful and alive and gives you fulfillment and a purpose to your existence. Your world's belief systems stamp out the inner child as quickly as possible and leave you in a cold, gray, robotic reality where you're doing what you're told and you're doing what you believe is right, because in your mind, in your brain, you've been programmed to believe certain things are right or wrong, so you're just doing them. But you're feeling empty. You're feeling no fulfillment. Let me redirect perhaps the way you're looking at this and help you to understand that if you are doing these things because you think it's the thing to do, again, it will be empty. I'm aware of a question that someone asked through this vessel to those of us that he's connected to, along the lines of, why should I not just live a selfish incarnation and do whatever I want for me, since it's completely unfulfilling doing these outside activities to please others or do what I've been told is right. Now understand that your definition or perception and your human experience of the idea of selfish, this is sort of a man-made idea, and there's a lot of beliefs or even an entire belief system attached to this word. For example, as has been alluded to through this vessel, through myself and even more so others, many of the feline nature, I believe, the idea that being heart-centered and illuminating yourself from within, giving yourself unconditional love and appreciation, this is not a practice of selfishness, simply giving yourself things you don't deserve, as I'm reading from your belief systems. This is a practice of accessing your own higher truth. If you will allow yourself that unconditional love, you will be drawn to your own heart center energetically. And then your intuition or your knowing of your higher self, in other words, your vibration will be so much higher. You'll access a great deal more of that which you actually are, that which you've come to be. So in this sense, in this higher truth or spiritual sense or different belief about consciousness, approaching this and understanding that being heart-centered and giving yourself unconditional love is, if you would call this selfish, then selfish is perhaps the most valuable thing to you in this case, because in doing this, embodying the frequency of unconditional love, the effect that you'll have on your world and all the others, if you will automatically be more uplifting and beneficial to your planet and all the others than any amount of dogmatic rituals that you do with no sense of fulfillment because you've been told it's the right thing to do. If you're not feeling anything, then what manifesting power is really in those activities? How much good is it really doing for you or anybody else? Rhetorical question, you know the answer. These are reflections from your own higher self. So the truth here is that you need your truth. You can call it selfish, or you can remove the guilt-based belief systems that block you from accessing your own truth. If you drop the judgment of selfish, that is an expectation, that is a belief system that blocks you from your own higher selves, because in the very practice of giving yourselves unconditional love, you sort of bring up these judgments that exist in your own subconsciousness, which has been put there by these belief systems in your world. And in judging what you're doing as selfish, it becomes a different vibrational experience, much lower vibrational, you could say. Then the outcome is not fulfillment. The outcome is not what you'd call enlightenment or accessing higher aspects of yourselves. The outcome is being more disconnected from your truth, from your own higher self. Because the very path of being heart-centered and finding your truth within yourself has been obscured to you by many belief systems throughout your world, teaching you that anything you do to help yourself is selfish and evil, looking from the words in this vessel's mind. Understand this is all just what you might call caveman thinking. In your world currently, there's been technologies given to you that far exceed the awareness your peoples have, and that is my concern, and the concern of some of my kind, as well as certain others. that are speaking or sending energy into your world, ideas, energies, concepts, vibrations for you to connect to, if you will, to help you find those centers in yourselves, so that you can free yourselves from belief systems that keep you in low vibration, keep you from accessing a higher truth, because you've been taught false judgments that obscure your path, that cloud it with so much illusion you can't see your own path. So you're walking someone else's path, and this is why it's empty. Reading from this vessel's mind and his general understanding of human ideas of what it is to be selfish, it seems to be a belief system based on not enough love and not enough resources and not enough abundance in your world, and a complete disconnection from an understanding of your ability to manifest. So therefore, under these false beliefs, this notion of what man calls selfish has you, at least in this one's mind, doing things like taking advantage of each other, believing that it's a dog-eat-dog world, as offensive as some of my kind might find that. But we don't. We understand terminologies, symbologies. But understand that these are false beliefs that hold you down again. And if this is where you're manifesting from, is the belief that in order to get ahead you have to stab someone else in the back, well, very well then, that is your current truth. That is your current reality. That is the energy that your reality is being manifested and operated from. And your experience will reflect that. But if you actually find your heart center, you'll find a higher illumination and understand that giving yourself unconditional love makes you the source of it to yourself and others, and it makes the frequency, the magnetism of abundance in your experience much more accessible to you, as well as your ability to read into more of yourself, your ability to shine a light deeper into the vastness of that which you actually are, to access more of yourself, more of your creativity, more of your gifts, as you call it in your world. Things that are quite natural to the real you, but you've been living at a small frequency, not accessing very much of yourself, a low frequency, I guess is the way you word it. What you know of yourself is barely the tip of the iceberg, is a term that this one seems to like in his mind. And it's quite a good reflection or an accurate parable or idea for what's being expressed here. It is belief systems that hold you down. It is belief systems that obscure you from finding more of your own self. Anything that can cause you to have false judgments will have the doors on your own path closed to you, and other doors open that are false paths for you, that are empty for you, as an individual or as a collective. Principle applies both ways. I'm also aware of a great deal of fear being stirred up in your world by certain powers that be, as this one likes to say it, who like to keep the misinformation flowing on your planet, so that even when we access your kind through channels like this or other mechanisms and methods to send truth, higher truth and energy for your ascension, as you call it, the amount of false truths, for some reason, is a term, and I see this one's mind seems contradictory. The amount of illusionary concepts and ideas, the amount of misdirection being spread in what you're calling your New Age community, even in some cases by the light workers themselves, who have fallen to these certain deceptions. They've fallen into a vibration of fear due to false beliefs, and some of them even spread these false beliefs. Understand this will be corrected as they continue to expand on their own path and recognize the illusion and see past it. What I'm referring to in this particular case is these various ideas that are circulating your world in your current point in your timeline about things you call reincarnation councils or reincarnation contracts, reincarnation grids. I've seen a lot of terminology generally describing the same fear-based concept. And it goes something like this. Don't worry about the details because it's not really important. The general idea is something to do with reincarnation is being afflicted upon you. It's not your choice. Some council or something outside of yourself has created some sort of slavery on your planet where you are forced to reincarnate and suffer as a human. So let me shine some light on this for you, how this actually is occurring. In a low vibration with less awareness, this seems true to you. Because anytime you go through something you consider uncomfortable in your human experience, which traditionally has been quite frequent for your kind up to this point, you feel perhaps victimized, or you feel questions about, is this really out of my control and why are these things happening to me? It's very understandable. With less illumination on the situation, wondering why you go through certain forms of what you might call suffering can be very discouraging and disillusioning, if that's even a word, according to your languages. So, what I'd like to share is from a higher perspective, how this actually looks. When you say, is there a reincarnation council? I will answer you yes, but this council is not at all what you think. What your wording reincarnation council actually does align with to some degree is the reality that in between, you could say, human incarnations, or any end of the other incarnations you have in different worlds, places, and times, your higher self and the other creator beings that are at that high of a frequency and advancement, the ones that your own higher self considers its counsel, put their metaphorical heads together, if you will, and hearts, and determine and calculate various incarnations and the potentials they have for you, human and otherwise. And from this higher point in your own consciousness, where you can determine exactly which stars, which math, which geometric alignments, which family, which soul group, which so-called time, so-called place, and so forth, using your earth and human incarnations for an example, you are determining these things from your higher self and your higher self's counsel. What opportunities would be most potentially beneficial to you in another incarnation? And then you incarnate, and you do this with tremendous enthusiasm. In fact, you could say that there are many, many, many beings lining up for a human incarnation currently. This is the more accurate truth. From your higher self, you line up, and you can't wait to take on the opportunity for this kind of growth. A next opportunity in a what you call human or otherwise incarnations, and understand you have many going on at any given time, which is again an illusion. So yes, there's a council, but you are the head of this council, the real you. And the decisions of where and when and how to incarnate are made from a much, to say a much more illuminated place is a vast understatement. So when you find yourself in that incarnation and it's challenging and you're in the darkness of the human ignorant world as it sits currently, understand that you very much chose this, and every single thing that you would call a problem, it would be very, very wise and prudent and powerful for you to experience what occurs when you replace the word problem in your human vocabulary with the word opportunity. This will automatically give you many more inroads into what is really going on from the perspective of your own higher self. Beliefs like this, that there's this reincarnation council victimizing you and you're enslaved in human incarnation after human incarnation, which you go through blindly suffering. This is a low vibrational belief, and as long as you adhere to it, your human incarnation will unfold accordingly as if that is your truth. That will be your experience. Understand that this belief, this particular belief, for example, and there are many circulating your world, if you will, let us look at it a little bit more closely, what this belief is designed to do and what it achieves. When you believe that the reincarnation council has power over you and you're being victimized, you're automatically being cut off from your own higher self by this false belief, aren't you? Because this counsel that you're fearing and seeing as something outside of yourself, victimizing yourself, is you. Therefore, this false belief has you entirely cut off from that which you are. Hopefully that makes sense. It's really very simple, like a simple math problem. 2 + 1 = 3. You're just looking at the simple components of what this belief is designed to do energetically. This is why information circulating your planet that has a combination of truth, mixed with deception is always the most powerful kind of lie and illusion. If it was 100% lie, it would be much easier for you to determine that. Although in some cases these still work in your current human situation, because the beliefs you've been born into have you cut off from your own, what you might call intuition or discernment or higher mind. This is not the case with all of you, and many of you are accelerating very much your connectedness into higher frequencies of your own capacity for interaction and thought and feeling. So you're moving beyond these boundaries. Hold on. Toning this one's energy a little. So yes, any belief, and there are many in your world, which have you demonizing parts of yourself, the higher parts of yourself, fearing them, seeing it as something outside of yourself that's victimizing you. This is simply disconnecting you from your power. And this is a simple reality. Anytime you believe you're being victimized, you are disconnecting from more of your own power. You have a higher self, a divine creator being, more vast and powerful than you could possibly imagine, and this is the real you. And there are no mistakes in where you've incarnated and the opportunities you present yourself with over and over again. If you notice certain patterns reoccurring in your life time and time again, things maybe you don't like, again, throw away your human word problem and replace it with opportunity. Then you'll realize these things that are occurring are not some victimization where someone's picking on you. Your higher self is simply placing something in front of your path, a certain theme, over and over, giving you the opportunity time and time again to change something about the way you view, about the way you believe, and about the way you experience this certain theme. It is an opportunity for you to rewrite, to reinvent something about yourself, even at the higher level. The testing ground or the challenge ground is in this human world where so little light and information is available to you that in order to access any higher frequency of what's potential, what's real, what you can be, what you are in your human experience, you're forced, in a sense, by your higher self to seek your higher self, you could say. So look at how the beliefs in your world are very cleverly designed to stop you from doing exactly that. Do not feel victimized by this. Understand that you chose this challenge. You chose to enter darkness so that you could access yourself and become a light. Yes, the world around you is filled with lies. Yes, the world around you is dumbed down and blind and suffering. But this is not because some council has enslaved you all and captured you there and forced this upon you. This is because the real you, the higher you, understands that for its own growth, for its own expansion, as the great divine creator being that it already is, this experience you're having as human, if you can access these higher truths and wield them even in a human experience at such a low vibrational disillusioned frequency of an incarnation, you might say, the higher you will expand much further and more vastly. This may be a little bit difficult to perceive of from your human experience, but understand there's tremendous gain for you as an individual, or you would not be incarnated as human at all. This is not some punishment. There's nothing about you that isn't good enough, and that's why this is happening to you. It simply serves your best interest to provide yourself with these opportunities that can be had from this experience in a primitive world currently, and a primitive race currently known as human on Earth. The real you is not primitive. The real you is more advanced than you can imagine in your human brain without melting it. So understand, if you'd like more access to the real you, any belief system that has you vibrating in fears is designed to stop you from doing that. This is a simple, elementary truth. And if you will apply it, as well as what I've recommended, and I'm aware that others have recommended through this vessel as well, change your word. Do away with your word problem and insert the word opportunity, and you will change your entire reality. Understand that even the way your words have been designed, there are certain words within your language that do not serve you. They do not serve in your growth. They are concepts which hold you back. So replacing some of these lower vibrational words with their higher octave, you might say, at this time of ascension, as you're calling it, accesses a higher truth for you, a higher octave of thought, a higher octave of awareness and reality, a higher frequency, more light being illuminated further in all directions into what you really are and what you're capable of and what you may choose to be as you continually reinvent yourselves into higher and grander and better versions all throughout all of time and space and eternity, which you have always been doing and always will. Understand that this is just one of your avatars. This is just one of your many expansive projects. It's a tremendous opportunity, or you would not have incarnated into it. Start taking advantage of it instead of feeling like you're being taken advantage of by it. This is backwards. Backwards if your goal is, as you say, to ascend in consciousness. Now understand there's really no judgment throughout the universe of whatever low vibration any being might have an experience in, have an entire incarnation in. Many incarnations, there's no time limit. There's no punishment for remaining in low vibrational awareness through many incarnations. There is cause and effect. There is a lot of unnecessary suffering, you could say, that occurs to you. But this is not punishment. It's simply cause and effect reality. It's your creation of an experience. And you are growing from it. Even entire incarnations spent in no real awareness of your real self. Your higher self is such a vast and wise and powerful being that it uses even these incarnations to its benefit. Experience is experience, and experience is truly valuable. This is why any of us ever incarnate into a physical form anyway. It's for the experience. It's not because it's always easy, but it's because the vast opportunities for self-growth and consciousness through incarnating in one of these focal points of consciousness as a single individual entity is incredibly beneficial to the real you, to say the least. I believe this is plenty to reflect upon for today. For now, there's some very simple, key, elementary truths that if you will apply these higher truths to your reality, it will change the way everything you manifest is going forward from here. Those of you that have heard this and connected with it, I can feel. It is my honor to share some of what my people have discovered, being maybe further along into the future of our personal timeline at this point. Understand that my higher self as an entity is no more advanced than yours, having your current human incarnation. I'm simply incarnated in a form, in a place, in a time and space right now where these higher truths are very available and well known to my kind, and I'm sharing them as more of you are opening to the fact that you are connected to us out here, that you're telepathic and you pick up information and energy in a variety of ways. At the highest level of truth, of course, we're all the same thing. That's why there's no escaping the fact that all things will always be connected. And yet we get to have the experience of being completely unique individuals as well. Through all different forms, for all eternity, through time and space, and anything you can imagine, you will experience, or you have. Yes, much love, truth, and appreciation. That is all for now. I love you all. I honor you all in your experience. Understand that we all honor you from here. Anyone looking at your current incarnations from what you might call a higher frequency of awareness has very much admiration and appreciation for what you're undertaking as humans. Well, except for those who are deeply on what you might call the dark end of the spectrum, which resent your very existence, but that's a whole different story. We'd advise you not to listen to those voices. The higher thoughts that lift you up, the higher truths. If what you say you would choose to experience is ascension, apply the things being shared, those that you connect with. Much love and honor again. Look forward to future interactions. This is Onris from the Dog Star, signing out for now. Okay. Okay, cool. I'm going to go watch this video. Thank you, Onris.